Boy, oh boy, I can't wait to hear from the traders who are going to be talking Tesla's 5-day losing streak on the show called Fast Money. There is no such thing. This video title perfectly encapsulates the short-term mentality within the finance media, which is, in essence, an extension of the Wall Street fee machine, which is dependent on activity. No buying, no selling, no fees, no income, no Wall Street fee machine. Fast money. What a terrible mindset for investing. Traders also bound to lose. And they're focused on a 5-day period on Tesla stock. This is just incredible. Let's see if we can learn anything about what not to do and how not to think about or act when it comes to investing.
And we start off with Tesla in turmoil. The EV stock plunging more than 6% today, hitting...
Bro, I have to stop already. We start with Tesla in turmoil, she says. Really? Turmoil? Let's look at the last decade. I mean, I think a 10-year time frame is probably a reasonable period of time to assess the performance of a stock. Anything less than that, and well, there can be a lot of short-term volatility and noise. What's that saying? Over the short term, the stock market is a voting machine, sentiment-driven. Over the long term, a weighing machine. So let's have a look here. Roughly last decade, Tesla stock up a little over 2,200%. How about the 5-year? Stock up 530%. How about the 1-year? Stock up about 80%. The past 6 months, up around 70%. Remember, if in doubt, zoom out. Unless you're the mainstream finance media on a show called Fast Money, where your traders are talking about the last 5 days, in which case, yes, Tesla in turmoil. Now I'm going to make a prediction before we get any further. My prediction is that these fast money traders are going to be grasping at straws and conjuring up a narrative to explain why Tesla stock is in turmoil in the last 5 days. Now, the actual reason that Tesla stock would be down over any period of time is just simply the net result of the buying and selling activity on Tesla stock over that period of time. That's the actual answer. You can speculate as to some of the reasons why there might have been more buying or selling pressure, but at the end of the day, it's all speculation. Predictions. There'll be at least one emotional, deranged Elon hater who's going to make some kind of reference to Elon Musk and Trump. Orange man bad plus Elon bad equals Tesla stock in turmoil, possibly more. There's also going to be some absurd claims about the competition finally coming after we've heard that for the last 15 years. There'll also possibly, I mean, it depends how, if they've got that DMF down on there, then absolutely this is going to happen for sure. Be some ridiculous claims that Tesla sales are collapsing, Model Y in particular. I've seen this narrative recently. You know how Tesla refreshed the Model Y, right? It's now launched globally. There's no magic start producing the new Model Y button on existing production lines instantly. You kind of have to retool. You're going to lose some production of the old Y and also have to clear through inventory, right? So I suspect, just putting this out there in case I'm right or wrong, I'll leave it in regardless. I expect we're also going to hear that the Model Y sales are collapsing, demand's collapsing, or something along those lines, with zero reference whatsoever to the fact that Tesla had to retool for the new Model Y, which is now launched globally. Let's see how close I am to the mark.
Its lowest level since mid-November and locking in a 5-day losing streak. The stock has lost a third of its value since setting a record in December, retracing more than half its post-election rally. The latest round of losses coming amid a slew of potential distractions for CEO Elon Musk, heading up Doge. Here he is, in fact, today in the Oval Office with the president as well as his son. Then there's his $97 billion bid for control of OpenAI. And, of course, his nonstop posting on X. On top of that, there's concern over the slowdown in Tesla's core business. The company seeing sales in France, Germany, and China plummet to start the year.
I didn't have to wait long for that. Now, by the way, so here's these plummeting, collapsing sales I called ahead of time. But note, by the way, the selection of random countries, putting aside the fact that we know the new Model Y is now launched globally, accounting for these major declines in part. But also, as I've said many times, it doesn't matter how many vehicles were sold in XYZ country or region or even continent. How many were sold on the planet Earth? You paint any narrative you want if you zoom into a particular country on a particular month. We've been over this before in detail. I'm not going to rehash it, but I mean, wow. So what? One tick for sales collapsing? No mention yet of the new Model Y to account for this.
Bulls seem to think the push into self-driving will be the next positive catalyst for the stock, but will that be enough to give Tesla the edge over the competition? What are we looking at here when we take a look at this slide, Dan?
Yes, we've got him. The biggest DMF on the planet, Dan, Elon bad. Now, I said before, I'll say it again. I'm pretty sure Dan's just on this panel for entertainment value. It's like, you know, he's like a DEI hire. You need at least one retarded, emotional, quote, investor on the panel just for everyone to laugh at. Melissa's sort of almost acting as the mother of the retarded son, keeping him reined in occasionally when he gets too far out there, but otherwise just, you know, let him have his fun and pretend that he's part of the group and he has something meaningful to say. This is going to be great. Every time Dan says something about Tesla, it's just delicious.
I didn't look at the slide, but that's a cute kid over there. I got to be honest with you.
Super cute.
You know, listen, on the last call about a week and a half ago, I mean, Elon really didn't spend a lot of time talking about like the car sales and what's going on in Europe. And, you know, we're down here in the U.S. also, and it doesn't look like they're going to make their deliveries this year. I know it sounds.
Oh, so again, he's just talking about demand, sales in particular, collapsing in Europe and the US. Any mention of the new Model Y, or did I completely 100,000% call this ahead of time? Just wondering, all right, if these fast money traders are informed about Tesla, surely they know the new Model Y has refreshed, right? And it's now on sale globally. And there is no magic instantly start producing that thing at scale button. You do need to retool existing lines. There's going to be downtime and a reduction in production. Plus, you've got to clear through existing inventory. Obviously, Dan's very rational and not at all emotional and doesn't have it in for Tesla or Elon. Therefore, he's definitely got to mention, well, you know, it could actually be the fact that the Model Y refresh has launched globally could be accounting for some of that reduction in production and delivery volumes, right? Right?
Sounds really early just to kind of extrapolate what they did in January, but we know they're in a price war. We know that there's threats about tariffs. We know that, you know, these EV credits could go away. We know.
So we've heard mention of the competition, price war. Dan seems to know a lot. We know. But does Dan know about the refreshed Model Y launching globally that accounts for the reduced production? Come on, Dan. Please, for once, don't embarrass yourself.
That price war that's been going on for 3 years is not abating anytime soon. But what he spent a lot of time talking about is robots and robotaxis and how that is going to inflate the price of this stock. And so when I think about what's going on right here, if you bought the stock on the breakout from November 5th, and it was nearly a double from November 6th to December 18th, you know, you have to believe in his proximity to the president and the White House and what that might mean for deregulation is going to help all the things that he's not focused on right now. They're not making a low-end EV to compete with some of the low-end competition that's coming from China.
So hang on a minute. We're looking at a slide from Tesla's most recent quarterly earnings report. The very same quarterly earnings that Dan was just referencing. Elon wasn't talking much about production, more about robots and autonomy. So, mister, we know. Under product, quote, plans for new vehicles. That's plural, vehicles. One more time. Plans for new vehicles. Wait for it. Maybe I'll zoom in for a dramatic effect, including more affordable models, plural, remain on track for start-off production in the first half of 2025. Wait, what year is it now? Oh, it's 2025. Hang on. So not only was there no mention at all of the refreshed Model Y accounting for reduced production in the early part of this year and toward the tail end of last year, Dan seems to be unaware of the fact that when Tesla does an earnings call, that follows the release of their earnings report, which contains words in it and information about where the company's at, including plans for new vehicles, including more affordable models, and remain on track for start of production in the first half of this fucking year. But I suppose if you are a fast money trader, you know, why would you bother reading a company's earnings reports and their current plans and updates on their production and new vehicle models? I mean, why would you read their earnings report if you're a fast money trader?
Other places. So at the end of the day, if the promise was that we're going to get to full self-driving, then we're going to get to robotaxis, is going to happen sooner than you think. And oh, by the way, this Optimus thing is going to be really helpful in making all this stuff, and you can buy one too, and you can have it in your house. That's not happening anytime soon. So when you think about this stock, I mean, it really could round trip.
Quote, any time soon, says the guy on the segment called Fast Money Traders and 5-Day Losing Streaks. I mean, yeah. When you have a micro penis length time horizon, you're a trader, a fast money trader. You look, fair point, right? If you're a long-term investor, Optimus and autonomy is going to be happening a hell of a lot sooner than most people realize. Tesla told us on that same report that Dan probably didn't read that in June, their Robotaxi service is launching in Austin, and that's their goal. In June, it's currently mid-February as I record this. I would personally consider that soon, actually. But I'm not a fast money trader, so I can't be too hard on Dan here. In his world, anything more than about 5 days is ultra long-term.
Trip the entire move back to November 6th because the fundamentals of the car business are not particularly good and they're only getting worse right now.
There are a lot of things to come, and yet BYD today announces its self-driving offering, and it's called God's Eye, across all models, and not for an additional fee, which Tesla is offering in terms of full self-driving.
Okay, so, God, there's a million things I need to say on this BYD news. By the way, good on BYD. But what exactly is, quote, God's Eye? BYD's, quote, God's Eye, which comes in multiple different levels depending on the trim of the vehicle and how many sensors are on it. Sounds a hell of a lot like a Tesla Autopilot competitor, which, by the way, Autopilot comes standard on every new Tesla, as in it's included, you don't have to pay extra. BYD doing their best to mimic Tesla's software Autopilot, standard on all vehicles, basic features and functionality, traffic-aware cruise control and auto steer when there's clearly marked lanes. Then you have enhanced and or upgraded versions, additional capability. Enhanced autopilot includes navigate on autopilot, highway on-ramp to off-ramp, suggesting lane changes, blah, blah, blah. You guys can see this shit. Auto lane change, auto park, blah, blah, blah. Plus eventually dumb summon and actually smart summon. And then there's full self-driving, which you guys are all familiar with, right? Supervised autonomy. Here's a summary of BYD's God's Eye from Grok. God's Eye, A tier, I guess you'd call this. This is primarily for luxury models and offers advanced urban navigation and high-speed highway autonomy. God's Eye B, enhancing city navigation and obstacle detection. And God's Eye C, the low end. Basic autonomous driving features like highway navigation and automatic parking. Does this sound familiar? Yes, BYD intend on soon offering different forms of advanced driver assist software, multiple tiers, much like Tesla. About fucking time. And this is going to be excellent for BYD. You know who it's not going to be great for? Companies that are not Tesla or BYD. And be mindful, the different capabilities, the different tiers of this God's Eye software are dependent entirely on the hardware equipped on the vehicles. For the A tier, top-line God's Eye on BYD vehicles, the vehicles need to be equipped with 3 LiDAR sensors and a beefy 600 tera operation per second computer. The B tier requires 1 LiDAR sensor plus multiple cameras and radars and half the computing power. And the entry-level arse end version requires a total of 15 cameras, 5 radars and 12 ultrasonic radars and 100 teraops per second versus 300 and 600. Meanwhile, Tesla vehicles all come with autopilot standard and sufficient sensors for running both enhanced autopilot and full self-driving. Meaning at any point, a Tesla customer can upgrade, let's say all the way to FSD. This won't be possible, at least not initially on these BYD vehicles. Make no mistake, this is an excellent decision by BYD, although we've yet to see the capabilities initially and how much they progress. But be mindful, this will add extra expense to BYD's production costs. And BYD doesn't have the opportunity, whereas Tesla does, for a customer to purchase the vehicle and then go for the maximum upgrade after purchase. If you don't have the necessary hardware on your vehicle, you can't pay for the software. And by the way, a really quick side note on BYD, who are doing very well, they don't actually separately report their battery supply business. So it's impossible to know how much money, if any at all, they're actually currently making selling vehicles. BYD sells a fuck ton of batteries. Great business to be in. Maybe some points of comparison. CATL, a battery manufacturing company, since BYD doesn't separately report their battery business, it's all just lumped together. CATL's gross margin over 30%. In other words, mass producing lithium-ion batteries is a very healthy business. I mean, those are gigantic margins. BYD, the entire company, in Q4 2024 made roughly $1 billion in profits, selling give or take a dozen different vehicle models. But did they make any money at all selling vehicles? We don't know. I mean, their battery business could be carrying their automotive business completely, which is, by the way, is a good thing. The more highly profitable businesses you have at scale, the better. It allows you to invest aggressively in future growth opportunities. But when it comes to advanced driver assist, pseudo-autonomy, and eventually autonomy, BYD many steps behind Tesla. And they have a major disadvantage because of the price points they sell their vehicles. They can't equip them all with the full sensor suite for full capabilities for their top-end driver assist / autonomous software in the future. Not possible.
They're starting at a very low pricing point. They're going across 3 levels. And this could actually force, the rethink in terms of these services. Are we going to charge for them or not? And there might be pressure to not charge for them.
The whole yes, absolutely. And, January 29th was a Wednesday. We were here together. Tesla reported earnings. Margins were a disaster, the worst margins in over 5 years. And I said to you that night, if we had played the game, if you had told me last night this was going to happen, where's the stock? I said it would have been down $50. It was not. As a matter of fact, it got up to about $4.15 or so. Now here's the $50 in the rearview mirror. I'm not sure why the market's deciding now to sort of punish them on what I think was the back of that quarter and some of these headlines, but I do think it's justified. And Dan talks about round trip. Yeah, maybe. We stopped today at about the 150-day moving average. It's a normal place for us to bounce. But, fundamentals matter. The fundamentals to me suggest lower.
Tim?
It's always been a story of we're betting on the concepts and we don't necessarily have delivery. I mean, energy storage is another one of these things that the analyst community got really excited about. I mean, ultimately, the revenue number missed pretty badly. Yes, there were some positives on the margin, but then there was, let's point to the lowest cost of goods sold on record. And there's some dynamics that I think are things that the bulls can point to.
So credit to Tim for pointing out Tesla's lowest ever cost of goods sold on their automotive business. This is important. It means they keep driving their cost to produce vehicles down, meaning they can pass on cost savings, meaning more people can afford their vehicles, therefore more people can buy them. And this is before the multiple new, more affordable models enter production in the first half of this year. But he also mentioned energy. Yes, the very same thing whose revenue we are seeing on screen right now. I'm not sure, but Tim seemed to be suggesting that analysts were previously getting quite excited about Tesla Energy, and apparently the quarter was a bit disappointing. But again, fast money, traders, a quarter is a long time. But hello, Q1 2020 revenue, a few $100 million on Tesla Energy. Q4 2024, just a few years later, roughly a 10x increase in Tesla Energy revenues, about $3 billion. I'm far from disappointed with Tesla Energy. Oh, by the way, as Gally pointed out over on X with this graphic, Tesla's just finished their new Megapack factory in Shanghai. Now, call me crazy, but if you've just finished a new factory that's going to produce gigantic energy storage products, and you've already historically seen roughly a 10 times increase in revenue on energy storage products over just a few years, and now get a gigantic fuck-off new factory to build even more of these things, it's probably safe to say that revenues from Tesla Energy products are going to continue increasing at a ridiculous rate.
I just take it back to what's the company worth, and it's much like we're going to have a conversation about Chairman Powell, and they can only price in tariffs when they actually see the impact. I'll price this into the model when I actually have these revenues, not where I think growth could be. That's always been my story here.
Oh God, I'm choking to death, bro. It's so funny. Tim actually just said, I mean, this is how the analysts on Wall Street also think, that he won't actually attempt to estimate future revenues on future products. Instead, he will wait until he has an actual fucking number to put in his spreadsheet. He actually just said that. Let's listen exactly to these words one more time. Again, fast money, trader, 5 days. Exactly, time horizon. This is how over and over historically massive opportunities are missed. The unwillingness to use your brain and your balls and attempt to probabilistically estimate future revenues, future profits for future products, future opportunities that a company's pursuing, developing, etc. This is how you miss out on massive upside. We have to listen to this again. It's brilliant insight into the DMF mindset of most on Wall Street, most traditional finance folks, and definitely fast money traders. In fact, you may have heard some guy on the internet who makes videos with 3 first names describing this as people waiting until they get turkey slapped across the fucking face with actual numbers before they put them in their spreadsheet. Because it's literally illegal and you'll be put in prison for the rest of your life if you attempt to estimate these things ahead of time.
I'll price this into the model when I actually have these revenues, not where I think growth could be. That's always been my story here. The current PE is north of 150, even after some of this pullback. That's what it comes down to. Again, there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of upside. There's a lot of excitement.
But because I'm a short-term trader and or traditional finance person, I'm not allowed to consider any of these until they've actually happened, at which point investors will have figured that out as well, and they'll probably load it up on the stock, and it'll be probably a lot higher than it is today. But this is crazy. He's admitting massive potential upside, lots of opportunities, blah, 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 but I'm not going to model things until they actually happen, because if I were to do that, I might actually identify and benefit from an opportunity as opposed to chase after it.
A lot of core businesses that certainly are hard to put a number on, and that's exactly right. I'm not putting a number on them.
Today, the action was not very good, Katie. On very heavy volume, it finished at its lows.
Yeah, so it took out some support around 350. It does follow a major breakout, though. That was a big resistance level for it to get through post-election. So we think this is a counter-trend move and ultimately something that will yield a buying opportunity. Believe it or not, because it ran up so quickly, though it is not oversold yet from an intermediate-term perspective. We have no counter-trend buy signals, so we think it'll take some time to get there.
Fucking technical analyst jargon. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Load of horse shit. So, quick recap. Tesla tells us on their recent earnings call, Robotaxis launch in June this year in Austin. New, more affordable models remain on track for first production in the first half of this year. In other words, a range of, as in more than one, new, more affordable Tesla vehicle entering production, and Tesla Robotaxis launch in the same half of the same year, which is the first half of this year, which I'm currently speaking to you from. But it's super legal to actually model the potential implications of either of those until they've already happened and you have some numbers to put in your spreadsheet. I think that might be the difference between fast money and slow wealth. Want more content? Early access? A bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, or I can keep going. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. And look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.